The sun was setting over the Gulf of Aden, painting the waters in shades of crimson and gold when Commander Sarah Martinez first spotted the small dots on the horizon. From the bridge of the USS Cyclone, a Cyclone-class patrol boat, she lowered her binoculars with a slight frown creasing her weathered brow. 29 vessels were approaching from multiple directions, moving in a coordinated pattern that made her blood run cold. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Commander Martinez had spent 15 years in the Navy, rising through the ranks in a male-dominated field where every decision was scrutinized twice as hard. At 38, she was one of the youngest female commanders to lead a patrol vessel in these dangerous waters, and she hadn't earned that position by backing down from a fight. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her steel-gray eyes had seen enough combat to know when trouble was brewing. The Gulf of Aden had become increasingly dangerous over the past decade. Somali pirates, emboldened by successful ransoms and weak international response, had grown more sophisticated and aggressive. What started as desperate fishermen trying to feed their families had evolved into well-organized criminal enterprises with military-grade weapons and satellite communications. The pirates had learned to hunt in packs, overwhelming their targets through sheer numbers rather than superior firepower. "Ma'am, sonar is picking up multiple contacts," reported Petty Officer First Class Rodriguez from the communications station. His voice carried a tension that Martinez recognized immediately. Rodriguez had been with her crew for 3 years, and she'd never heard that particular edge in his voice before. Martinez moved to the radar display, studying the green blips that represented the approaching vessels. They were small, fast, and moving in a pattern that suggested careful coordination. This wasn't a random encounter or a case of mistaken identity. This was a deliberate, planned attack. "How many are we looking at, Rodriguez?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer would confirm her worst fears. 29 confirmed contacts, ma'am. They're approaching from the north, northeast, and northwest. Speed approximately 35 knots and closing fast. The USS Cyclone was a formidable vessel, but it was designed for coastal patrol work, not pitched battles against overwhelming numbers. At 179 feet long and displacing 331 tons, it was armed with a 25mm Bushmaster chain gun, 2.50 caliber machine guns, and various small arms. Against a single pirate vessel, or even 3 or 4, it would be more than adequate. Against 29 boats filled with desperate men carrying rocket-propelled grenades and assault rifles, the odds were significantly less favorable. Martinez's mind raced through the tactical possibilities. The Cyclone could outrun most pirate vessels, but not all of them, and definitely not when they were approaching from multiple angles simultaneously. Radio for support? The nearest naval vessel was hours away, and in these waters, hours might as well be days. Her crew of 28 sailors was well-trained and disciplined, but they were about to face odds of nearly 30 to 1 in terms of vessels, with potentially hundreds of pirates bearing down on them. "Battle stations," Martinez commanded, her voice carrying across the bridge with the authority that had earned her the respect of every sailor under her command. "This is not a drill. All hands to battle stations." The alarm klaxon began wailing throughout the ship, and Martinez could hear the sound of boots pounding on metal decking as her crew rushed to their assigned positions. Lieutenant Commander James Harrison, her executioning officer, appeared at her side within seconds. "Sit rep, Skipper," Harrison said, using the informal address that marked him as one of the few people aboard who had earned the right to speak to her with such familiarity. 29 pirate vessels, approaching from 3 directions, coordinated attack pattern, Martinez replied tersely. "This isn't some random fishing expedition, Jim. Someone planned this." Harrison studied the radar display, his expression growing grimmer by the second. Intelligence suggested increased pirate activity in this sector, but nothing like this. "This is unprecedented." Martinez nodded. The pirates had been growing bolder, but this level of coordination suggested something new and dangerous. Maybe they had new leadership, or maybe they were being funded and organized by someone with military experience. Either way, it meant the rules of engagement had suddenly changed dramatically. "Weapon status report," she called out. All weapon systems green and ready, ma'am, came the response from gunner's mate second-class Thompson. Chain gun loaded and armed, 50 cals manned and ready. The approaching vessels were now close enough that Martinez could make out details through her binoculars. They were the typical pirate boats she'd encountered before. Small, fast skiffs, and fishing boats that had been modified for combat. Some had mounted machine guns, others carried crews armed with AK-47s and RPGs, but what made this different was their formation and discipline. These weren't desperate fishermen turned pirates. This was a coordinated naval assault. As the distance between the USS Cyclone and the approaching pirate fleet continued to close, Commander Martinez found herself facing a decision that would define not only her career, but potentially the lives of everyone under her command. The setting sun cast long shadows across the water, and in less than 10 minutes, those shadows would provide cover for the attackers. "Range to nearest contact?" Martinez asked, her voice steadied despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. 1,200 yards in closing, ma'am, reported Seaman Garcia from the radar station. They're maintaining formation speed at 32 knots. Martinez did quick calculations in her head. At current approach speeds, the pirates would be within effective range of their small arms and RPGs in less than 3 minutes. The Cyclone's advantage lay in her superior firepower and armor, but that advantage diminished rapidly once the enemy got close enough to board or disable her engines with well-placed rocket fire. "Communications, have you raised Fifth Fleet?" Martinez asked, though she already knew the answer from Rodriguez's expression. "Negative, ma'am. We're getting some kind of jamming on military frequencies. Commercial frequencies are clear, but anything encrypted is being blocked." This confirmed Martinez's suspicions that they were dealing with a sophisticated enemy. Jamming military communications required equipment and expertise that went far beyond what typical Somali pirates possessed. Someone with serious resources and training was behind this operation. Lieutenant Commander Harrison moved closer to Martinez, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Sarah, we need to consider all options here. If they're jamming our comms and attacking with this many vessels, they might have inside information about our patrol route." Martinez nodded grimly. The thought had already occurred to her. The USS Cyclone's patrol pattern wasn't exactly classified, but it wasn't public knowledge either. For the pirates to position 29 vessels along our route with such precision suggested either remarkable luck or advanced intelligence. "Options, Jim. Give me tactical options." Harrison consulted the digital display showing their position relative to the approaching fleet. "We could attempt to break through their lines to the south, try to reach international waters where we might have better support options, or we could turn north and try to reach the Saudi coast, but that would mean running straight toward their strongest concentration." "Third option?" Martinez asked, though she suspected she already knew what Harrison was thinking. "We stand and fight, use our superior firepower to break up their formation before they can coordinate an effective attack." Martinez studied the tactical display one more time. The pirate vessels were arranged in 3 groups, with the largest group of 12 boats approaching from the northwest. 2 smaller groups of 8 and 9 boats, respectively, were coming from the north and northeast. It was a classic pincer movement, designed to prevent their target from escaping while overwhelming them with numbers. "Helm, come to heading 180, increase speed to flank," Martinez commanded. "We're going to punch through their southern line before they can tighten the noose." "Aye, ma'am, coming to heading 180, increasing to flank speed," responded Petty Officer Williams at the helm. The Cyclone's engines roared to life, and Martinez felt the familiar vibration through the deck plates as their speed increased rapidly. The patrol boat was capable of 35 knots at flank speed, which would give them a slight advantage over most of the pursuing vessels. But even as the Cyclone began to pull away from the main body of attackers, Martinez noticed something troubling on the radar display. 3 of the pirate vessels had broken off from the main groups and were moving to intercept their escape route. These boats were moving faster than the others, suggesting they might be equipped with more powerful engines specifically for this type of pursuit. "Contact bearing 195, distance 800 yards and closing fast," reported Garcia. "This one is moving at nearly 40 knots. Martinez raised her binoculars and focused on the approaching vessel. It was larger than the typical pirate skiff, more like a heavily modified fishing boat, and she could see the distinctive silhouette of a mounted heavy machine gun on its bow. This wasn't just another opportunist pirate. This was a purpose-built attack vessel. "Gunnery, do you have a solution on the lead intercept vessel?" Martinez called out. "Affirmative, ma'am. Range 750 yards, bearing 194. Solution locked." Martinez hesitated for just a moment. Once she gave the order to fire, there would be no turning back.
This would escalate from a pursuit into open combat, and while she had every right to defend her vessel, she also knew that the international community would scrutinize every aspect of this engagement. All stations, this is the captain. We are about to engage hostile vessels in defense of this ship and crew. This is not an exercise. All hands maintain your positions and follow orders precisely. We will get through this together. The lead pirate vessel was now close enough that Martinez could see individual figures moving on its deck. She counted at least 6 men, all armed with assault rifles, and she could see the muzzles flash as they began firing at the Cyclone. The range was still too great for their small arms to be effective, but it wouldn't be long before they closed to the distance. "Multiple contacts opening fire," reported Rodriguez, his voice tight with concentration. "I'm seeing muzzle flashes from at least 15 vessels."
The first rocket-propelled grenade streaked across the water toward the USS Cyclone, its distinctive white smoke trail visible against the darkening sky. Commander Martinez watched it approach with the detached fascination of someone who had trained for this moment but never expected to actually experience it. The RPG passed harmlessly over the bridge, exploding in the water 50 yards beyond their stern. "Evasive maneuvers," Martinez ordered, gripping the bridge railing as the Cyclone began a series of sharp turns designed to make them a more difficult target. "Maintain speed and keep us moving." The second and third RPGs came almost simultaneously, one falling short and detonating in a spectacular waterspout just off their port bow, while the other struck the water directly in their wake. The concussions from the explosions sent shockwaves through the hull, and Martinez could feel the vibrations in her bones. "Damage report," she called out, even as she watched more pirate vessels moving to surround them. The initial plan to break through the southern line was failing as more boats appeared from that direction, clearly having anticipated their escape route. "No damage to report, ma'am," came the response from Chief Petty Officer Martinez, no relation, the ship's damage control officer. "Hull integrity intact, all systems functioning normally." But Martinez knew their luck wouldn't hold indefinitely. The pirates were learning to adjust their fire, and sooner or later, one of those RPGs would find its mark. More concerning was the fact that several of the pirate vessels were equipped with heavy machine guns that could penetrate the Cyclone's armor at close range. "Gunnery, target the boat with the heaviest weapons. I want that 50 cal taken out before they get close enough to use it effectively." Thompson had already identified the target, a large fishing boat that had been converted into a floating weapons platform. In addition to the mounted machine gun, Martinez could see armed men positioned along its rails and what appeared to be additional RPGs stacked on the deck. The Bushmaster chain gun swiveled toward the new target, and Thompson sent another burst of 25mm rounds downrange. This time, however, the pirate vessel was ready. The boat's helmsman threw it into a sharp turn just as the rounds arrived, and most of the shells missed their target, sending up towering spouts of water. "Target is maneuvering evasively," Thompson reported, adjusting fire. Meanwhile, the other pirate vessels had closed to within 300 yards, and the volume of incoming fire was increasing dramatically. Martinez could hear the distinctive crack of AK-47 rounds passing overhead, and several bullets struck the Cyclone's superstructure with metallic pings. "Return fire with small arms," Martinez ordered. "All hands with weapons, defend the ship." The Cyclone's crew began responding with their own small arms fire, M4 carbines and M240 machine guns, adding their voices to the growing crescendo of combat. Martinez drew her sidearm, a Beretta M9, though she knew it would be useless at current ranges. But even as her crew fought back courageously, Martinez could see that they were being gradually surrounded. The pirate vessels were moving in a tightening circle, using their numbers and maneuverability to negate the Cyclone's firepower advantage. Several boats had already moved past their effective firing arcs, forcing the crew to divide their attention among multiple threats. "Ma'am, we've got problems," reported Lieutenant Commander Harrison, pointing toward the northeastern quadrant. "Look at boat number 7. Martinez turned her binoculars toward the vessel Harrison indicated and felt her blood run cold. Unlike the other pirate boats, this one appeared to be carrying some kind of larger weapon system. As she watched, she could see several men working to position what looked like a recoilless rifle or possibly even a small artillery piece. "What the hell are they carrying over there?" Martinez muttered, adjusting her binoculars for a better view.
"That looks like a 106mm recoilless rifle, ma'am," Harrison replied grimly. "If they get that thing operational, it could put a hole through our hull below the waterline." Martinez knew that Harrison was right. The USS Cyclone was armored, but it wasn't designed to withstand direct hits from anti-tank weapons. A 106mm round could punch through our hull plating and potentially cause catastrophic damage to our engines or flooding in critical compartments. "How long before they have that weapon ready to fire?" Martinez asked. "Based on what I can see, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, Harrison estimated. They're still working to get it properly mounted and aimed. 3 to 4 minutes. Martinez did rapid calculations in her head. At current engagement ranges and with the number of targets they were facing, it would be nearly impossible to eliminate the recoilless rifle before it became operational. They needed a different approach. "Communications. Are you still being jammed?" Martinez called out. "Affirmative, ma'am, but I'm picking up some chatter on unencrypted channels. It sounds like they're coordinating their attack patterns." "Can you understand what they're saying?" "Some of it, ma'am. It's a mix of Somali and Arabic, but I'm catching references to positions and timing." Martinez made a decision that went against every instinct she had developed during 15 years of naval service. Instead of trying to fight her way out of the encirclement, she was going to use the pirates' coordination against them. "Helm, reduce speed to 1/3, come to heading 090. "Ma'am," Williams at the helm looked confused. "Reducing speed would allow the pirates to close distance even more rapidly. You heard the order, Petty Officer. 1/3 speed, heading 090. As the Cyclone began to slow and turn, Martinez could see the pirate vessels adjusting their positions accordingly. They were maintaining their encirclement, but closing the distance more aggressively, apparently thinking that their quarry was finally succumbing to the overwhelming odds. "All hands, prepare for close quarters combat," Martinez announced over the intercom. "Boarding parties, man your positions. This is going to get up close and personal." Lieutenant Commander Harrison looked at her with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Sarah, what are you planning?" "I'm planning to give them exactly what they want," Martinez replied, checking her sidearm one more time. "They want to board us? Let them try. But they're going to discover that 28 United States sailors are worth a hell of a lot more than 200 pirates. The first pirate vessel to close within 50 yards would learn exactly what Commander Sarah Martinez meant by that statement."
The first pirate vessel to take the bait was a medium-sized skiff carrying 8 armed men. Commander Martinez watched through her binoculars as the boat's helmsman, emboldened by what he perceived as the American ship's surrender, brought his vessel alongside the Cyclone's starboard side. The pirates were shouting in multiple languages, their voices carrying a mixture of triumph and bloodlust that chilled Martinez to the bone. What they didn't know was that Martinez had positioned her most experienced combat veterans at strategic points along the rail, each armed with M4 carbines and plenty of ammunition. Chief Thompson had rigged several surprise packages that would give the boarding parties a reception they weren't expecting. "Steady," Martinez whispered into her radio headset, speaking to the sailors positioned below. "Let them get close. Wait for my signal." The pirate skiff bumped against the Cyclone's hull with a metallic clang, and Martinez could see grappling hooks being thrown over the rail. The first pirate to appear over the side was a tall, thin man with a distinctive red bandana and an AK-47 slung across his back. He was grinning with anticipation as he pulled himself up onto the deck. "Now," Martinez commanded. The trap was sprung with deadly precision. Chief Thompson triggered a series of flashbang grenades that he had positioned along the rail, flooding the area with blinding light and deafening noise. Simultaneously, the concealed sailors opened fire from prepared positions, catching the boarding party completely off guard. The pirate with the red bandana was the first to fall, struck by multiple rounds before he could even unsling his weapon. His companions, blinded and disoriented by the flashbangs, found themselves facing disciplined American sailors who had trained extensively for exactly this type of close-quarters combat.
Within 30 seconds, the first boarding attempt was over. 8 pirates lay dead on the deck, and their boat was drifting away from the Cyclone, its engines shot to pieces by concentrated rifle fire. But Martinez knew this was only the beginning. The other pirate vessels had witnessed the fate of the first boarding party, and she could see them adjusting their tactics accordingly. Instead of individual boats attempting to board, they were now coordinating a simultaneous multi-vessel assault. "Contact, bearing 045, 2 boats approaching fast," reported Seaman Garcia. "Contact bearing 130, 3 boats in formation. Contact bearing 270, 4 boats moving to attack position." Martinez quickly assessed the situation. 9 boats were making simultaneous runs at the Cyclone from 3 different directions. Her crew couldn't possibly defend against all of them effectively, especially with the limited ammunition they carried for small arms. "Gunnery, target the largest group first. Those 4 boats coming from 270. Break up that formation before they can coordinate." Thompson swiveled the Bushmaster toward the western approach and opened fire. The 25mm rounds tore through the lead pirate vessel, literally cutting it in half at the waterline. The second boat in the formation, trying to avoid the fate of its companion, turned sharply to starboard and collided with the third vessel. Both boats went down in a tangle of debris and struggling men. But the 4th boat in the group, however, had learned from watching the destruction of its companions. Instead of approaching in a straight line, it was weaving erratically, making it nearly impossible for Thompson to get a clean shot. "I can't get a lock on that 4th boat," Thompson reported. "It's moving too unpredictably." Meanwhile, the other 2 groups of pirates were closing rapidly on the Cyclone's port and starboard sides. Martinez could see that several of the boats were carrying what appeared to be explosive charges, crude but potentially effective improvised explosive devices designed to blow holes in the Cyclone's hull. "All hands, prepare for multiple simultaneous boarding attempts," Martinez announced over the intercom. "This is not going to be clean or easy. Fight smart, fight hard, and watch your shipmates." The portside attackers arrived first. 2 boats approached almost simultaneously, their crews throwing grappling hooks and climbing ropes as soon as they made contact with the hull. But Martinez's sailors were ready for them. Petty Officer Rodriguez and 3 other crew members had positioned themselves with M240 machine guns at key points along the port rail. As soon as the pirates began climbing the ropes, Rodriguez opened fire with devastating effect. The heavy machine gun rounds tore through the climbing pirates like they were made of paper, and several men fell back into the water, their bodies riddled with bullets. But even as the port side attack was being repelled, the starboard assault began in earnest. 3 pirate boats had coordinated their approach perfectly, arriving at the Cyclone's side within seconds of each other. This time, however, the pirates had learned from the failure of the port side attack. Instead of climbing ropes, they were using boarding ladders and makeshift bridges to get onto the American vessel. "Starboard side is being overrun," Harrison reported, his voice tight with concern. "We've got multiple pirates on deck and more coming." Martinez could see the situation deteriorating rapidly. Her sailors were fighting courageously, but they were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Worse, she could see that the pirate vessel with the 106mm recoilless rifle had finally gotten their weapon operational and was maneuvering for a clear shot at the Cyclone's engine room. It was time for desperate measures. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. "Chief Thompson, I need you to abandon the Bushmaster and get below decks. Initiate Scuttle Protocol 7. Thompson's eyes widened. Scuttle Protocol 7 was a last resort measure that would trigger explosive charges designed to sink the ship rather than allow it to be captured by enemy forces. It was something that existed in theory, but had never been implemented by a U.S. Navy vessel since World War II. "Ma'am, are you sure?" Thompson asked. "Once I start that sequence, we'll have maybe 10 minutes before—" "I know exactly what we'll have, Chief. Just do it. And make sure everyone knows they need to be ready to abandon ship on my command." As Thompson disappeared below decks to initiate the scuttle sequence, Martinez turned her attention back to the immediate tactical situation. Pirates were now aboard the Cyclone in significant numbers, engaged in hand-to-hand combat with her crew throughout the ship. She could hear gunfire, shouts, and the clash of metal on metal echoing from multiple locations. Drawing her sidearm, Martinez left the bridge and headed toward the sound of the heaviest fighting. If her ship was going to go down, she was going to go down fighting alongside her crew.
Commander Martinez made her way through the Cyclone's narrow corridors toward the sound of intense combat emanating from the main deck. The ship's interior lighting flickered intermittently, damaged by the ongoing battle, and she could smell cordite and diesel fuel mixing in the confined air. Each step forward brought the sounds of fighting closer. The crack of rifle fire, shouts in multiple languages, and the distinctive metallic ring of weapons clashing. As she rounded the corner leading to the main deck access, Martinez nearly collided with Seaman Garcia, who was supporting a wounded shipmate. Blood was streaming down Garcia's face from a head wound, but his eyes were still sharp and focused. "Ma'am, the starboard side is completely overrun," Garcia reported breathlessly. "We've got at least 20 pirates on deck, maybe more. Chief Rodriguez is wounded but still fighting near the stern. Lieutenant Commander Harrison is coordinating defense of the engine room access." Martinez could see the tactical situation was deteriorating rapidly. The pirates had succeeded in establishing multiple footholds on her ship, and her crew was being forced to fight a defensive battle on multiple fronts simultaneously. But she also knew something the pirates didn't. In approximately 8 minutes, Chief Thompson's charges would detonate, sending the Cyclone to the bottom of the Gulf of Aden. "Garcia, get Morrison to the medical station and then get back to the fight," Martinez commanded. "And pass the word quietly. We execute Emergency Plan Delta in 7 minutes. Make sure everyone knows." Emergency Plan Delta was the crew's code for abandoned ship procedures, but Martinez couldn't announce it openly over the intercom system because the pirates might intercept the communication. Instead, the word would have to be passed from sailor to sailor, a dangerous but necessary communication method. Martinez continued toward the main deck, pausing at each junction to listen for signs of friendly forces. The Cyclone was a relatively small ship, and she knew its layout intimately, which gave her an advantage over the attacking pirates who were fighting in unfamiliar territory. At the main deck access, she could hear the distinctive sound of an M240 machine gun firing in controlled bursts, mixed with the higher-pitched chatter of AK-47s. Peering around the edge of the hatchway, she could see Petty Officer Rodriguez behind a makeshift barricade, methodically engaging targets with his machine gun while 2 other sailors provided supporting fire with their M4 rifles. But even as Rodriguez's team held their position, Martinez could see that they were running low on ammunition. The deck around their position was littered with empty brass casings, and she noticed that Rodriguez was switching to single shots rather than the controlled bursts that were more effective against multiple targets. More concerning was the fact that several pirates had managed to work their way behind Rodriguez's position. They were using the ship's superstructure for cover, preparing to attack the machine gun nest from behind while Rodriguez's attention was focused on threats to his front. Martinez didn't hesitate. Raising her Beretta M9, she moved onto the deck in a low crouch, using shipping containers and deck equipment for cover. The first pirate she encountered was a young man, probably no more than 20, armed with an AK-47 and moving towards Rodriguez's position from the port side. The range was less than 15 yards when Martinez fired. Her first shot struck the pirate's center mass, and he dropped immediately. The sound of her pistol firing alerted the other pirates to her presence, but it also let Rodriguez know that he had support coming from an unexpected direction. 2 more pirates appeared from behind a ventilation shaft, both armed and clearly experienced fighters based on how they moved and communicated with hand signals. Martinez engaged the closest target first, putting 2 rounds into his chest before shifting to the second target. This pirate was quicker and more alert than his companion, and he managed to get off a burst from his AK-47 before Martinez could bring her weapon to bear. The 7.62mm rounds from the assault rifle struck the deck plating near Martinez's position, sending up showers of sparks and metal fragments. One piece of shrapnel cut her across the left cheek, drawing blood, but the wound was superficial and didn't affect her ability to fight. Martinez's return fire was more accurate. 3 shots from her Beretta found their target, and the second pirate joined his companions on the deck. "Commander," Rodriguez called out over the noise of battle, "we got bigger problems incoming."
Martinez looked toward where Rodriguez was pointing and felt her stomach drop. The pirate vessel carrying the 106mm recoilless rifle had maneuvered into position approximately 200 yards off the Cyclone's starboard beam. She could see the crew working frantically to bring their weapon to bear on the American ship's engine room. If that recoilless rifle fired successfully, it would punch through the Cyclone's hull plating and potentially detonate the scuttling charges prematurely, killing everyone aboard before they had a chance to abandon ship. Martinez realized she had to make a decision that went against every principle of naval warfare she'd been taught. "All hands, this is the captain," Martinez announced over the ship's intercom system, knowing the pirates would hear her as well. "Cease resistance and prepare to abandon ship. Repeat, cease resistance and prepare to abandon ship." The announcement had an immediate effect. The gunfire began to diminish as both sides processed this unexpected development. Martinez could see the confusion on the faces of the pirates who were close enough for her to observe their reactions. They had expected to capture a U.S. Navy vessel intact, not to have their prize surrendered voluntarily. What the pirates didn't know was that Martinez was buying time for her crew to prepare for the real plan. Chief Thompson's scuttling charges would detonate in less than 3 minutes, and she needed to get her people off the ship before that happened. Lieutenant Commander Harrison appeared at her side, having fought his way up from the engine room. His uniform was torn and blood-stained, but he appeared to be uninjured. "Sarah, what are you doing?" Harrison asked quietly. "We can still fight our way out of this." "No, we can't, and you know it, but we can make sure these bastards don't get what they came for." "How many of our people are still in fighting condition?" "Maybe 18, possibly 20, Harrison reported. "We've got several wounded, but most are still mobile." Martinez checked her watch. 3 minutes and 15 seconds until the charges detonate. The timing was going to be critical. Too early and the pirates would have time to escape. Too late and her crew would be caught in the explosion. "Pass the word," Martinez said quietly. "Everyone over the side in 2 minutes. Life rafts deployed, but stay close to the ship until I give the signal to clear the area." As Harrison moved away to coordinate the abandoned ship procedures, Martinez noticed that the pirate vessel carrying the 106mm recoilless rifle was moving closer, apparently emboldened by what they perceived as the American surrender. Perfect. The closer they got, the more likely they would be caught in the explosion when the Cyclone went down. The organized chaos of abandoned ship procedures began as Martinez's crews started moving toward their designated life raft stations. The pirates, still confused by the sudden American surrender, were maintaining their positions but no longer actively firing. Several of the pirate leaders were shouting orders in Somali and Arabic, clearly trying to decide whether this was some kind of trap or a genuine capitulation. Martinez remained on the bridge, watching the tactical situation develop while keeping one eye on her watch. 2 minutes and 30 seconds until detonation. Her crew was moving efficiently despite the circumstances, testament to their training and discipline under fire. But she knew the most dangerous part of this operation was still ahead. "Ma'am, first life raft is deployed and loading," reported Chief Thompson over her radio headset. He had returned from setting the scuttling charges and was now coordinating the evacuation. "Request permission to load wounded first." "Granted, but move fast, Chief. We don't have much time." Through her binoculars, Martinez could see that the pirate vessel with the 106mm recoilless rifle was now less than 100 yards away. The weapons crew had apparently decided that the American surrender was genuine and were relaxing their vigilance. Several pirates were actually standing on the deck, pointing at the Cyclone and talking animatedly among themselves. Other pirate vessels were also moving closer, their crews eager to board what they thought was their captured prize. Martinez counted at least 15 boats within 300 yards of the Cyclone, with more arriving every minute. The pirates who had already boarded her ship were beginning to explore below decks, searching for valuable equipment and intelligence materials. "Second life raft deployed," Thompson reported. "We're loading as fast as we can, but some of the wounded are going to need assistance getting over the side." Martinez checked her watch again. 1 minute and 45 seconds. The timing was becoming critical, and she realized she needed to start moving toward her own evacuation point. But first, she had one more task to complete. Moving to the ship's communication station, Martinez activated the emergency broadcast system on international distress frequencies. If there were any other naval vessels in the area, she wanted them to know what was happening and to be prepared to rescue survivors.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is USS Cyclone, position 23 degrees north, 58 degrees east. We are under attack by multiple pirate vessels and preparing to abandon ship. Any vessels in the area, please respond and prepare for survivor rescue operations. Martinez didn't wait for a response. 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining. She grabbed her emergency kit and started toward the main deck, knowing that every second of delay increased the risk that her crew would be caught in the explosion. As she emerged onto the deck, Martinez could see that the evacuation was proceeding smoothly despite the chaotic circumstances. Her sailors were helping wounded shipmates into the life rafts while maintaining their composure under the watchful eyes of confused pirates. The enemy fighters were clearly uncertain about how to proceed. They had prepared for a battle, not a surrender. "Ma'am, third raft is loaded and ready," reported Petty Officer Rodriguez, who, despite his head wound, was helping coordinate the evacuation. "We're down to the last 6 personnel." Martinez looked around the deck and realized that she was looking at her ship for the last time. The USS Cyclone had been her command for 3 years, and every rivet, every piece of equipment, every compartment held memories of the dedicated sailors who had served aboard her. In less than 1 minute, all of it would be sent to the bottom of the Gulf of Aden. But more importantly, in less than 1 minute, 29 pirate vessels and their crews would learn exactly what happened when they decided to attack a United States Navy ship commanded by Sarah Martinez. "All hands, prepare for immediate departure from the ship," Martinez announced over the intercom one final time. "Move to your assigned life rafts now." 50 seconds. Martinez could see several pirates moving toward the bridge, apparently intending to secure the command center of their prize. They were climbing the external ladders with their weapons slung, confident that the danger had passed. One of them, a heavy-set man with elaborate tattoos covering his arms, was actually smiling as he climbed. 40 seconds. "Ma'am, you need to get off this ship now," Lieutenant Commander Harrison said, appearing at her side. "Everyone else is clear." "What about you, Jim?" Martinez asked, though she already knew the answer. "I'm not leaving without my captain," Harrison replied firmly. "We go together or not at all." 30 seconds. Martinez and Harrison ran toward the starboard rail where the last life raft was waiting. Chief Thompson and 2 other sailors were holding the raft against the ship's side, waiting for their commanding officer. The raft was already crowded with wounded sailors, but there was room for 2 more. 20 seconds. As Martinez swung her leg over the rail, she could see pirates throughout the ship, exploring compartments and gathering what they thought was valuable equipment. The pirate vessel with the 106mm recoilless rifle was now less than 50 yards away, close enough that she could see individual faces of the crew members. 15 seconds. Martinez dropped into the life raft, followed immediately by Harrison. "Clear the ship," she ordered. "All rafts, maximum distance, now." The sailors in the life rafts began paddling frantically, trying to put as much distance as possible between themselves and the Cyclone. But Martinez knew they wouldn't get far enough in the remaining time. The explosion was going to be massive, and the shock wave would affect everything within several hundred yards. 10 seconds. "All hands, prepare for shock wave," Martinez shouted across the water to the other life rafts. "Get down and hold on." 5 seconds. Martinez could see pirates on the Cyclone's deck pointing at the life rafts and shouting. Some of them were beginning to realize that something was wrong, that the American surrender had been too easy, too convenient. 3 seconds. The pirate with the elaborate tattoos had reached the bridge and was looking around in confusion, probably wondering why all the American sailors had abandoned a perfectly functional ship. 1 second. Time seemed to slow as Martinez watched her ship for the final moment before the charges detonated. She thought about her crew, about the 3 years of patrols in these dangerous waters, about the pirates who had made the fatal mistake of underestimating what a determined American naval officer was capable of when her people were threatened. 0. The USS Cyclone disappeared in a massive fireball that lit up the Gulf of Aden like a miniature sun. The explosion was far larger than Martinez had expected, as the ship's fuel and ammunition stores added their energy to Chief Thompson's carefully placed charges. The shockwave hit the life rafts like a physical blow, lifting them out of the water and slamming them back down with bone-jarring force.
But it was the effect on the pirate fleet that truly demonstrated the effectiveness of Martinez's desperate gambit. The vessel carrying the 106mm recoilless rifle, which had moved to within 50 yards of the Cyclone, was completely destroyed by the explosion. The other pirate boats within 300 yards were either sunk outright or damaged so severely that they began taking on water immediately. Martinez counted the results as her ears stopped ringing from the explosion. Of the original 29 pirate vessels, at least 15 had been destroyed or severely damaged by the blast. The remaining boats were either fleeing the area at maximum speed or trying to rescue their own survivors from the water. Status report, Martinez called out to the other life rafts, her voice hoarse from shouting over the noise of the explosion. Raft 2, all personnel accounted for, came the response from Thompson. Raft 3, 2 wounded but stable, reported Rodriguez. Raft 4, all present and accounted for. Martinez looked around at her crew, floating in life rafts in the middle of the Gulf of Aden, surrounded by the debris of what had been her ship and the pirate fleet that had attacked them. Her sailors were wounded, exhausted, and had just lost their ship, but they were alive. All 28 members of her crew had survived what should have been a hopeless battle against overwhelming odds. More importantly, they had sent a message that would be heard throughout the pirate networks of East Africa. Attacking a United States Navy vessel commanded by Sarah Martinez carried a price that few would be willing to pay. As the sun finally set completely over the Gulf of Aden, Martinez could see lights on the horizon, other ships responding to her mayday call, coming to rescue her crew and bring them home. The battle was over, but the story of what 28 American sailors had accomplished against impossible odds was just beginning.
2 hours after the explosion that destroyed the USS Cyclone, the lights on the horizon had resolved into the distinctive silhouette of the USS Porter, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer that had been conducting anti-piracy operations approximately 60 nautical miles to the south. Commander Martinez watched the massive warship approach through the darkness, its searchlight sweeping the water for survivors. The rescue operation was executed with the precision that Martinez had come to expect from the U.S. Navy. Within 30 minutes of the Porter's arrival, all 4 life rafts had been brought alongside the destroyer, and her crew was being helped aboard by sailors who looked at them with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. Commander Martinez, a tall officer with captain's insignia, approached as Martinez was helped onto the Porter's deck. "I'm Captain James Mitchell, commanding officer of the Porter. We received your mayday call and came as fast as we could." Martinez attempted to salute, but Captain Mitchell waved her off. "Save the formalities, Commander. Let's get you and your people to medical, and then I want to hear exactly what happened out here." As Martinez was escorted to the ship's medical bay, she could see her crew being treated by the Porter's medical personnel. The wounded were being given priority treatment, but even the uninjured sailors were being checked for shock, exposure, and other effects of their ordeal. Chief Thompson was sitting on a medical table while a corpsman examined a shrapnel wound on his arm, but he was animated and clearly eager to tell his story to anyone who would listen. "Ma'am," Thompson called out as Martinez passed, "permission to speak freely." "Granted, Chief," Martinez replied. "That was the most incredible piece of tactical thinking I've ever seen," Thompson said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "When you ordered me to initiate the scuttling protocol, I thought you'd lost your mind. But watching those pirate boats get blown to hell, that was beautiful, ma'am. Just beautiful." Martinez managed a tired smile. "It was your charges that made it possible, Chief. Perfect placement and timing." After a brief medical examination that confirmed she had only minor injuries, Martinez was escorted to Captain Mitchell's cabin for a detailed debriefing. The compartment was larger and more comfortable than anything aboard the Cyclone, and Martinez felt slightly overwhelmed by the luxury after 3 years on a patrol boat. "Coffee?" Captain Mitchell asked, gesturing toward a steaming pot. "Please," Martinez replied, gratefully. The caffeine would help her stay alert during what she knew would be a lengthy and detailed questioning session. Captain Mitchell poured 2 cups and settled into a chair across from Martinez. "Before we begin the formal debriefing, I want you to know that what you and your crew accomplished today is already being talked about at the highest levels of the Navy. 29 pirate vessels, Commander. 29! And you not only survived but eliminated more than half of them. Sir, with respect, we didn't eliminate anything. We just made sure they couldn't profit from their attack.
Don't minimize what you did, Captain Mitchell said firmly. Intelligence reports suggest that this was the largest coordinated pirate attack ever attempted in these waters. The level of organization and equipment they displayed indicates this was a sophisticated operation, probably funded and coordinated by someone with significant resources. Martinez nodded. She had come to the same conclusion during the battle. The communications jamming, the coordinated attack patterns, and especially the 106mm recoilless rifle all suggested that the pirates had backing from a well-organized criminal network or possibly even a hostile nation-state. "Sir, did any of the attacking vessels survive?" Martinez asked. "We're still conducting search and rescue operations, but it appears that 14 of the original 29 boats were either destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Of the 15 that escaped, we've tracked several of them back towards Somali coast, and international naval forces are coordinating a response." "What about survivors in the water?" Martinez's expression grew grim. "We've picked up 17 pirate survivors so far. Most of them are in serious condition, and several probably won't make it. The explosion was extensive." Martinez felt a complex mix of emotions at this news. She had no sympathy for pirates who attacked naval vessels, but she also understood that many of these men were driven to piracy by desperate economic circumstances. The fact that 17 families would lose fathers, sons, and brothers because of her decision weighed heavily on her conscience. "Commander, I need you to walk me through the entire engagement, from the moment you first spotted the approaching vessels until we picked you up," Captain Mitchell said, activating a digital recorder. "This debriefing will be forwarded to 5th Fleet headquarters and probably to the Pentagon. Every detail is important." For the next 3 hours, Martinez recounted every aspect of the battle in meticulous detail. Captain Mitchell asked probing questions about tactical decisions, equipment performance, crew behavior under fire, and the apparent sophistication of the pirate attack. He was particularly interested in the communications jamming and the recoilless rifle, both of which suggested capabilities far beyond typical Somali pirates. "When you made the decision to scuttle the ship, what was your primary tactical objective?" Captain Mitchell asked. "Sir, it was clear that we couldn't fight our way out of the encirclement. We were outnumbered approximately 30-1 in terms of vessels, and they had weapons that could penetrate our hull. My primary concern was the safety of my crew, but I also didn't want to allow them to capture a U.S. Navy vessel intact. The intelligence value alone would have been significant. Communications equipment, weapons systems, navigation data, all of that would have been extremely valuable to hostile forces. That was part of my calculation, sir. But honestly, my main motivation was tactical. They had concentrated their forces around us expecting to capture a prize. I wanted to make sure they paid the maximum possible price for that assumption." Captain Mitchell leaned back in his chair, studying Martinez with obvious respect. "Commander, you're aware that what you did today is going to have significant ramifications throughout the region." "How so, sir?" "Piracy in these waters has been increasing because the pirates believed they could attack international shipping with relative impunity. Even when naval forces responded, the worst they typically faced was arrest and imprisonment. But what you did today, you've demonstrated that attacking a U.S. Navy vessel carries lethal consequences." Martinez understood the implications. Her actions would likely serve as a deterrent to future pirate attacks, but they might also escalate the level of violence in the region as criminal organizations sought more powerful weapons and tactics to counter naval forces. "Sir, there's something else I need to report. The level of coordination and equipment displayed by these pirates suggests they had advanced intelligence about our patrol route." Captain Mitchell's expression grew serious. "Explain." "Sir, the timing and positioning of their attack was too precise to be coincidental. They knew exactly where we would be and when we would be there. That suggests either remarkable surveillance capabilities or access to our operational planning." "You're suggesting a security breach?" "I'm suggesting it's a possibility that should be investigated, sir."
The next morning, Commander Martinez found herself aboard a helicopter flying toward the USS Eisenhower, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier that served as the flagship for 5th Fleet operations in the region. The summons had come directly from Admiral Rebecca Thompson, the 5th Fleet commander, who wanted to personally debrief Martinez about the previous day's engagement. As the helicopter approached the massive carrier, Martinez was struck by the sheer scale of American naval power on display. The Eisenhower displaced over 100,000 tons and carried a crew of more than 5,000 sailors and aviators. After 3 years aboard the relatively tiny Cyclone, the carrier seemed impossibly large. Admiral Thompson was waiting for Martinez on the flight deck, a small woman in her mid-50s whose reputation for tactical brilliance was matched only by her demanding leadership style. She had been one of the first female admirals to command a fleet, and her career had been marked by a series of successful operations against increasingly sophisticated threats. "Commander Martinez," Admiral Thompson said, returning Martinez's salute, "walk with me." They moved away from the noise of the flight deck toward the island superstructure, where they could speak more privately. Admiral Thompson's aide, a young lieutenant commander, followed at a discreet distance. "I've read Captain Mitchell's preliminary report," Admiral Thompson began. 29 attacking vessels, sophisticated equipment, possible intelligence breach. Is that your assessment as well? "Yes, ma'am. The attack was too well coordinated to be spontaneous, and the equipment they carried suggested backing from a well-funded organization." "What's your theory about who was behind it?" Martinez had been thinking about this question since the rescue. "Ma'am, there are several possibilities. It could be an evolution in the Somali pirate networks with new leadership that has military experience. It could be backing from a hostile nation-state that wants to test our response capabilities, or it could be a criminal organization that's branched into piracy as a revenue stream." "All of those are being investigated," Admiral Thompson said, "but what concerns me most is your suggestion that they had advance intelligence about your patrol route." "Ma'am, the positioning was too precise to be coincidental. They knew exactly where we would be." Admiral Thompson stopped walking and turned to face Martinez directly. "Commander, I'm about to share information with you that's classified at the highest levels. What I'm going to tell you cannot leave this conversation." "Understood, ma'am." 3 days ago, we intercepted communications between a known arms dealer in Yemen and someone identifying himself as a Somali pirate leader. The arms dealer was offering to provide not just weapons, but intelligence about American naval operations in the region, in exchange for a share of ransom payments. Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. If hostile forces were providing real-time intelligence to pirate networks, it would completely change the threat environment in the region. "Ma'am, do we have any idea how they're obtaining this intelligence?" "That's what we're trying to determine. It could be signals intelligence, human sources, or even cyber penetration of our communication systems. What we do know is that your engagement yesterday was likely a test to see how effectively they could coordinate a large-scale attack using advanced intelligence. And if the test had been successful, then we would be looking at a fundamental shift in the threat environment. Instead of opportunistic attacks by small groups, we'd be facing coordinated assaults by large fleets with professional-level intelligence support." Admiral Thompson resumed walking, leading Martinez toward a briefing room deep within the carrier's superstructure. "Commander, what you did yesterday may have prevented a dramatic escalation in piracy throughout the region, but it also means that whoever was behind this attack now knows that their initial approach failed. Which means they'll adapt and try again with different tactics," Martinez concluded. "Exactly, and that's why I'm offering you a choice." They entered a secure briefing room where several other officers were waiting. Martinez recognized Captain Mitchell from the porter, but the others were unfamiliar to her. "Commander Martinez," Admiral Thompson announced to the room, "meet Task Force 73, our new anti-piracy coordination unit. Captain Mitchell you know. Captain Sarah Williams commands our intelligence analysis section. Commander David Park is our liaison with international naval forces, and Commander Lisa Rodriguez oversees our cyber warfare capabilities." Martinez looked around the room, beginning to understand where this conversation was heading. "Commander," Admiral Thompson continued, "you have a choice. You can return to the United States for a well-deserved shore assignment, where you'll probably be promoted and given command of a larger vessel. Or you can join Task Force 73 and help us track down whoever was behind yesterday's attack." "What would my role be in Task Force 73? Martinez asked. "You'd be our tactical operations officer," Captain Williams explained. "Your job would be to coordinate response operations against sophisticated pirate attacks, drawing on your experience from yesterday's engagement. And you'd have command of a new vessel," Admiral Thompson added. "We're assigning the USS Tempest to Task Force 73.
She's a new Freedom-class littoral combat ship specifically configured for anti-piracy operations in these waters. Martinez was familiar with the Freedom-class ships by reputation. They were fast, maneuverable, and heavily armed, designed specifically for the kind of operations that Task Force 73 would be conducting. Command of such a vessel would be a significant step up from the Cyclone. "Ma'am, what happened to my crew from the Cyclone?" Martinez asked. "They're being transferred to various assignments throughout the fleet, but if you join Task Force 73, you can request any of them who want to serve with you again." Martinez thought about Chief Thompson, Lieutenant Commander Harrison, and the other sailors who had fought so courageously the previous day. The idea of working with them again was appealing, but she also knew that asking them to volunteer for another dangerous assignment might not be fair. "How long would this assignment last?" Martinez asked. "Until we've eliminated the threat," Admiral Thompson replied. "That could be 6 months, or it could be 2 years. We don't know how deep this conspiracy goes or how many players are involved." Martinez looked around the room at the officers that she would be working with if she accepted the assignment. They all appeared to be experienced professionals, the kind of people she would want to work with on a complex and dangerous mission. "Ma'am, I have one question," Martinez said. "Are we going to be operating under normal rules of engagement, or are we going to have more flexibility given the sophistication of the threat?" Admiral Thompson smiled grimly. "Commander, after what happened yesterday, the rules of engagement have been clarified. Any vessel that attacks a U.S. Navy ship will be considered a hostile combatant and engaged accordingly. The days of treating piracy as a law enforcement issue are over."
3 weeks later, Commander Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Tempest, watching her new crew conduct training exercises in the waters off Djibouti. The Freedom-class littoral combat ship was everything she had hoped it would be: fast, agile, and bristling with advanced weapon systems that made the old Cyclone look like a fishing boat by comparison. The Tempest displaced 3,500 tons and could achieve speeds of over 45 knots, making it one of the fastest warships in the Navy. More importantly, for anti-piracy operations, it was armed with a 57mm gun system, multiple 50-caliber machine guns, and a suite of electronic warfare equipment designed to disrupt enemy communications. Martinez had been able to convince most of her old crew to join her aboard the Tempest. Chief Thompson was now her Master Chief Petty Officer. Lieutenant Commander Harrison remained her executive officer, and many of the sailors who had fought beside her during the Cyclone engagement had requested transfers to Task Force 73. "Ma'am, we're receiving a priority message from Task Force headquarters," reported Petty Officer Rodriguez, who had been promoted and now served as the Tempest's senior communications specialist. Martinez moved to the secure communication station and read the encrypted message that had just arrived. Intelligence sources had identified a large pirate fleet assembling near the Socotra Island, approximately 300 nautical miles northeast of their current position. Satellite imagery suggested at least 40 vessels, including several that appeared to be armed with heavy weapons. "Mr. Harrison, set course for Socotra Island, best possible speed," Martinez commanded, and signaled Task Force headquarters that were responding to their intelligence report. As the Tempest accelerated toward its maximum speed, Martinez reviewed the intelligence package that accompanied the alert. The satellite images showed a concentration of vessels unlike anything that had been seen in the region before. Some of the boats appeared to be modified cargo vessels, large enough to carry significant numbers of fighters and heavy weapons. More concerning was the presence of what appeared to be a command ship, a larger vessel with multiple communication antennae and radar equipment that suggested sophisticated coordination capabilities. This looked like the kind of operation that could threaten major shipping lanes throughout the region. "ETA to target area?" Martinez asked. 4 hours and 30 minutes at current speed, Harrison replied. Martinez used the transit time to coordinate with other Task Force 73 units in the area. The USS Porter was approximately 6 hours away and could provide fire support if needed. 2 Allied warships, a French frigate and a British destroyer, were also within range and had agreed to provide assistance if requested. As they approached the target area, Martinez ordered the Tempest to reduce speed and conduct a careful reconnaissance of the pirate fleet. What they found exceeded even the intelligence estimates in scope and sophistication. "Contact report,"
announced the radar operator. "I'm showing 53 vessels in various configurations, multiple groups, multiple sizes, coordinated movement patterns." Martinez studied the tactical display, analyzing the formation of the pirate fleet. It was arranged in a classic naval formation, with smaller, faster vessels positioned as scouts and larger vessels forming the main body. This wasn't a random collection of opportunistic pirates. This was a naval force operating under professional command. "Communications, are you detecting any electronic emissions from the target fleet?" Martinez asked. "Affirmative, ma'am. I'm picking up encrypted radio traffic, radar emissions from at least 3 vessels, and what appears to be satellite communication equipment." This confirmed Martinez's worst fears. The pirate fleet was operating with the kind of command and control capabilities that required significant funding and technical expertise. Whoever was behind this operation had resources that went far beyond typical criminal organizations. "Ma'am, I'm detecting movement in the pirate formation," reported the radar operator. "It looks like they're dispersing, moving away from the main concentration." Martinez realized that the pirates had detected the Tempest's approach and were implementing a defensive strategy. Instead of concentrating their forces where they could be engaged by a single warship, they were spreading out across a wider area, forcing any attacking naval force to divide its attention among multiple targets. "How many groups are they forming?" Martinez asked. "I count 7 distinct groups, ma'am, ranging from 4 to 12 vessels each. They're spreading out across approximately 50 nautical miles." This was exactly the kind of tactical challenge that Task Force 73 had been created to address. A traditional naval response would focus on the largest concentration of enemy vessels, allowing the smaller groups to escape or reposition for subsequent attacks. But the Tempest's speed and firepower allowed for a different approach. "Communications, signal Task Force headquarters that we have visual contact with a major pirate fleet showing sophisticated tactical organization. Request immediate support from all available units." "Message sent, ma'am. And I'm also detecting what appears to be electronic jamming attempts on our communications frequencies." The pirates were trying to isolate the Tempest from potential reinforcements, just as they had done during the attack on the Cyclone. But this time, Martinez was prepared for their tactics. "Electronic warfare, initiate counter-jamming procedures. I want full communication capability maintained." The Tempest's advanced electronic warfare suite began countering the pirate jamming attempts, and Martinez was satisfied to see their communications remained clear. The pirates had significantly more sophisticated equipment than typical Somali criminals, but they were still operating with improvised systems that couldn't match military-grade technology. "Ma'am, lead pirate group is changing course toward us," reported the radar operator. 12 vessels, bearing 045, range 20 nautical miles in closing. Martinez analyzed the tactical situation. The pirates were trying to overwhelm her with numbers while keeping their other groups dispersed to prevent a decisive engagement. It was a sound strategy, but it had one critical flaw. It assumed that the Tempest would fight a defensive battle. "All hands, this is the captain," Martinez announced over the ship's intercom. "We are about to engage a major pirate fleet in what may be the largest naval battle in these waters since World War II. Our mission is to disrupt their operations and gather intelligence about their capabilities. Every sailor aboard the ship has trained for this moment. Let's show them what Task Force 73 can do."
The USS Tempest raced toward the approaching pirate formation at maximum speed, her powerful engines driving the sleek warship through the waves at nearly 50 knots. Commander Martinez had decided to implement a tactic that went against conventional naval wisdom. Instead of maintaining a defensive position and allowing the enemy to close distance, she was going to attack the largest pirate group head-on, using speed and firepower to break up their formation before they could coordinate an effective assault. "Range to target, 8 nautical miles and closing," reported the radar operator. "Target formation maintaining course and speed." Martinez could see that the pirates were confident in their numerical advantage. 12 boats against 1 warship seemed like favorable odds, especially given their previous success against the Cyclone. What they didn't know was that the Tempest carried more firepower than their entire fleet combined. "Weapons status report," Martinez called out. "All weapons systems green and ready," responded Chief Thompson, who had taken over as the ship's senior gunner.
57mm gun system armed and tracking targets. Machine gun stations manned and ready. Target the largest vessel in their formation first, Martinez commanded. I want to eliminate their command capability before engaging the smaller boats. The Tempest's 57mm gun system was a marvel of modern naval technology, capable of firing guided projectiles at a rate of 220 rounds per minute. Unlike the smaller weapons that had been mounted on the Cyclone, this gun system could engage multiple targets simultaneously and deliver devastating firepower at ranges that kept the Tempest safely away from pirate small arms and RPGs. Range to target, 8 nautical miles in closing, reported the radar operator. Target formation maintaining course and speed. Martinez could see that the pirates were confident in their numerical advantage. 12 boats against 1 warship seemed like favorable odds, especially given their previous success against the Cyclone. What they didn't know was that the Tempest carried more firepower than their entire fleet combined. Weapon status report, Martinez called out. All weapon systems green and ready, responded Chief Thompson, who had taken over as the ship's senior gunner. 57mm gun system armed and tracking targets. Machine gun stations manned and ready. Target the largest vessel in their formation first. I want to eliminate their command capability before engaging the smaller boats. The Tempest's 57mm gun system was a marvel of modern naval technology, capable of firing guided projectiles at a rate of 220 rounds per minute. Unlike the smaller weapons that had been mounted on the Cyclone, this gun system could engage multiple targets simultaneously and deliver devastating firepower at ranges that kept the Tempest safely away from pirate small arms and RPGs. Target acquired, Thompson reported. Large fishing boat approximately 80 feet in length, multiple personnel visible on deck, what appears to be a mounted heavy machine gun. You are cleared to engage, Martinez commanded. The 57mm gun system fired its first salvo with a thunderous roar that echoed across the water. The guided projectile struck the target vessel with pinpoint accuracy, and Martinez watched through her binoculars as the large fishing boat literally disintegrated under the impact of multiple high-explosive rounds. The effect on the pirate formation was immediate and dramatic. The smaller boats began scattering in all directions, apparently abandoning any coordinated attack plan in favor of individual survival. But Martinez wasn't finished with them. Target the 2 boats attempting to flank us from starboard, she commanded. Engage with machine gun fire. The Tempest's multiple 50-caliber machine gun stations opened fire simultaneously, sending streams of heavy bullets toward the flanking pirate vessels. The range was still considerable, but the machine guns were accurate enough to force the pirates to take evasive action, disrupting their ability to close distance and coordinate an attack. One of the flanking boats, apparently hit by machine gun fire, began smoking and losing speed. Martinez could see figures jumping over the side as the vessel started to list heavily. The second boat turned away from the Tempest and began heading back toward the main pirate concentration at maximum speed. Ma'am, we've got multiple contacts approaching from the northwest, reported the radar operator. It looks like one of the other pirate groups is moving to support the group we're engaging. Martinez checked the tactical display and saw that a formation of 8 boats was indeed moving toward their position at high speed. The pirates were trying to overwhelm the Tempest with successive waves of attackers, hoping that their numerical advantage would eventually tell. How long until the second group reaches engagement range? Martinez asked. Approximately 12 minutes at current approach speed, the radar operator replied. Martinez made a quick calculation. 12 minutes was enough time to finish destroying the first pirate group and reposition for the second engagement. The Tempest's speed advantage would allow her to choose the timing and location of each battle, preventing the pirates from concentrating their forces effectively. Continue engaging targets in the first group, Martinez commanded. I want every vessel in that formation either sunk or disabled before the second group arrives. The next 10 minutes were a masterclass in modern naval gunnery. The Tempest's advanced fire control system allowed Chief Thompson to engage multiple targets in rapid succession, while the ship's maneuverability let Martinez maintain optimal range and positioning throughout the engagement. By the time the second pirate group reached the battle area, 7 of the original 12 boats in the first formation had been either sunk or disabled. The remaining 5 vessels were fleeing at maximum speed, clearly having no desire to continue the fight against such overwhelming firepower. Second group contact, bearing 320, range 6 nautical miles, reported the radar operator. Martinez studied the approaching formation and noticed something different about this group. The boats were larger than typical pirate vessels, and they were maintaining a much tighter formation despite having witnessed the destruction of the first attack group. "Chief Thompson, what do you make of those boats?" Martinez asked him, handing her binoculars. Thompson studied the approaching vessels for several moments before responding. "Ma'am, those aren't converted fishing boats. They look like military patrol craft, possibly surplus equipment from some Navy's coastal force." This was a significant development. If the pirates had access to actual military vessels, it would represent a major escalation in their capabilities and suggested even stronger backing from a state sponsor or well-funded criminal organization. "Weapons capabilities?" Martinez asked. "Hard to tell at this range, but I can see what looks like mounted guns on at least 3 of them, probably 20mm or 25mm systems, maybe larger." Martinez realized that this engagement was going to be significantly more challenging than the first. Military patrol craft would have armor protection, trained crews, and weapon systems that could potentially threaten the Tempest at longer ranges. Communications. Signal Task Force headquarters that we have encountered what appeared to be military-grade vessels operating with the pirate fleet. Request immediate intelligence assessment and support. "Message sent, ma'am," Rodriguez replied. "I'm also picking up more sophisticated communication traffic from the approaching group. They're using encrypted military-style radio protocols." As the second pirate group closed within 4 nautical miles, Martinez could see that Thompson's assessment was correct. These definitely were military patrol craft, probably surplus vessels that had been acquired through black market arms dealers or corrupt officials in regional navies. "All hands, prepare for engagement with military-grade targets. This is not going to be like fighting converted fishing boats. These people have real training and real weapons." The lead vessel in the approaching formation opened fire first, sending a stream of 25mm cannon rounds toward the American warship. The range was still too great for accurate fire, but the shells falling around the warship demonstrated that the pirates now had weapons that could genuinely threaten them. "Return fire," Martinez commanded. "Target the lead vessel first." The battle for control of the waters off Socotra Island was about to begin in earnest, and Commander Sarah Martinez was about to discover just how far the conspiracy behind the pirate attacks actually reached.
The USS Tempest's 57mm gun system engaged the lead pirate patrol craft with devastating effect. The first salvo of guided projectiles struck the enemy vessel amidships, penetrating its armor and detonating inside the hull. Within seconds, the military-grade pirate boat was listing heavily to port, and its 25mm cannons silenced and smoke pouring from multiple breaches in its superstructure. But the remaining 7 vessels in the formation were not deterred by the destruction of their leader. Instead, they spread out in a coordinated pattern that demonstrated professional naval training, positioning themselves to attack the Tempest from multiple angles simultaneously. "Multiple targets opening fire," reported Chief Thompson. "I'm tracking incoming rounds from at least 4 different positions. These crews know what they're doing, ma'am." Commander Martinez could hear the 20mm and 25mm rounds whistling overhead as the pirate patrol craft concentrated their fire on the Tempest. Several shots struck the warship's superstructure, but the advanced armor plating deflected most of the damage. Still, Martinez knew that sustained fire from multiple military-grade weapons could eventually penetrate their defenses. "Evasive maneuvers," Martinez commanded. "Use our speed advantage to stay ahead of their targeting solutions." The Tempest began a series of high-speed turns and course changes designed to make accurate gunnery impossible for the pursuing pirate vessels. At over 40 knots, the American warship could outmaneuver any of the enemy boats, but Martinez knew she couldn't simply run away. Her mission was to gather intelligence about the pirate operation and eliminate as many threats as possible. "Ma'am, I'm detecting communication traffic between the enemy vessels," reported Rodriguez. "They're coordinating their attacks using military radio protocols. This is definitely not a typical pirate operation." "Can you break their encryption?" Martinez asked. "Working on it, ma'am. Our electronic warfare suite is more advanced than their equipment, but it's going to take time." Martinez made a tactical decision that would define the rest of the engagement. Instead of trying to fight all 7 remaining pirate vessels simultaneously, she was going to use the Tempest's superior speed and firepower to engage them individually, preventing them from supporting each other effectively.
Helm, come to heading 270, flank speed. We're going to isolate the easternmost target and eliminate it before the others can intervene. The Tempest accelerated toward one of the pirate patrol craft that had become separated from the main group during the maneuvering. This vessel was smaller than the others, probably a coastal patrol boat that had been equipped with a single 20mm cannon. Target bearing 265, range 3 nautical miles, reported Thompson. I have a clear firing solution. Engage, Martinez commanded. The 57mm gun system fired a concentrated burst at the isolated pirate vessel, and the guided projectiles struck with devastating accuracy, and the enemy boat simply disintegrated under the impact. Martinez could see debris and bodies scattered across the water where the patrol craft had been moments before. But even as they celebrated the destruction of another enemy vessel, Martinez realized that the remaining pirates were adapting their tactics. Instead of pursuing the Tempest individually, they were converging on a central position, apparently preparing for a mass assault. Ma'am, all remaining enemy vessels are concentrating bearing 090, reported the radar operator, range approximately 5 nautical miles. They appear to be forming up for a mass attack. Martinez studied the tactical display and realized that the pirates were implementing a classic naval tactic, concentrating their forces for a decisive engagement rather than allowing themselves to be defeated piecemeal. It was exactly what she would have done in their position. Communications, any word from our reinforcements? Martinez asked. USS Porter reports ETA 30 minutes. French frigate Surcouf is approximately 45 minutes out. 30 minutes was a long time in a naval engagement, especially when facing multiple well-armed opponents. Martinez would have to hold out against 6 military-grade patrol craft until help arrived, and she knew the pirates weren't going to give her that time. Ma'am, enemy formation is beginning their attack run, reported the radar operator. All 6 vessels, coordinated approach, bearing 085. Martinez could see the pirate vessels on the horizon, moving in a tight formation that maximized their combined firepower while making it difficult for the Tempest to engage them individually. All hands prepare for sustained combat, Martinez announced over the intercom. We're about to face the largest coordinated pirate attack in modern naval history. Every sailor aboard this ship is part of making history today. The pirate formation opened fire at maximum range, sending streams of 20 and 25mm rounds toward the Tempest. Martinez could see the water around her ship erupting in countless small explosions as the enemy rounds struck the sea. A few shots found their target, striking the Tempest hull and superstructure, but the warship's armor held against the relatively light weapons. Return fire, all weapons, Martinez commanded. I want continuous fire on the enemy formation. The Tempest weapon systems erupted in a coordinated barrage that lit up the Gulf of Aden. The 57mm gun system fired guided projectiles at the larger pirate vessels, while the 50-caliber machine guns engaged the smaller boats. The volume of fire was incredible, and Martinez could see several enemy vessels taking hits and beginning to smoke. But the pirates were not giving up easily. They continued their attack run, closing distance despite taking casualties, apparently determined to overwhelm the American warship through sheer persistence and courage. Enemy vessel bearing 080 is launching something, Thompson reported urgently. It looks like, ma'am, I think that's a torpedo. Martinez felt her blood run cold. If the pirates had access to torpedoes, it meant they were backed by a major military power or criminal organization with access to advanced naval weapons. A single torpedo hit could sink the Tempest regardless of her armor and defensive systems. Evasive maneuvers, Martinez commanded. Emergency turn to starboard, maximum speed. The Tempest heeled over sharply as her helmsman threw the ship into a radical turn designed to avoid the incoming torpedo. Martinez could feel the deck plates vibrating under the stress of the high-speed maneuver, and several crew members had to grab onto fixed objects to avoid being thrown across the bridge. Torpedo bearing 075, range approximately 800 yards, reported the sonar operator. It's running straight and normal, ma'am.
Martinez watched the torpedoes approach on the tactical display, calculating whether the Tempest's evasive maneuvers would be sufficient to avoid impact. The weapon was closing rapidly, but their turn had changed the intercept angle significantly. Impact in 30 seconds, the sonar operator reported. All hands, brace for impact, Martinez announced. The torpedo passed less than 50 yards astern of the Tempest, its wake clearly visible in the water. Martinez felt a surge of relief, but she knew they had been incredibly lucky. If the pirates had more torpedoes, the next one might not miss. Ma'am, I've broken their communication encryption, Rodriguez reported excitedly. You're not going to believe what I'm hearing. Report, Martinez commanded, still focused on the ongoing battle. Ma'am, they're receiving tactical coordination from a shore-based command center. Someone is providing them with real-time intelligence about our position, speed, and heading. They know everything we're doing almost as soon as we do it. This confirmed Martinez's worst fears about the sophistication of the conspiracy behind the pirate attacks. Not only were the pirates equipped with military-grade weapons and vessels, but they were being coordinated by a professional command structure with access to advanced surveillance capabilities. Can you determine the location of their command center? Working on it, ma'am. The signals are being routed through multiple relay stations, but I think I can trace them back to their source. The pirate formation continued their attack despite having lost 2 more vessels to the Tempest's defensive fire. 4 patrol craft remained operational, and they were now close enough that their weapons could penetrate the American warship's armor at certain angles. Ma'am, we're taking damage to the forward superstructure, reported the damage control officer. Several systems have been hit, but nothing critical yet. Martinez realized that the battle was approaching a critical point. Her ship was taking cumulative damage from multiple attackers, and she was still 20 minutes away from reinforcement arrival. She needed to end this engagement quickly before the pirates' numerical advantage began to tell. Chief Thompson, I want you to concentrate all fire on the largest remaining enemy vessel, Martinez commanded. Put everything we have into that target. Aye, ma'am. Concentrating fire on the lead pirate vessel. The Tempest's entire armament focused on a single target, a large patrol craft that appeared to be the command vessel for the remaining pirate formation. The 57mm gun system fired continuously, while the machine guns added their fire to the devastating barrage. Under such concentrated fire, the pirate command vessel didn't stand a chance. Within moments, it was burning from bow to stern and beginning to settle by the bow. Martinez could see crew members abandoning ship as the vessel started its final plunge toward the bottom of the Gulf of Aden. The destruction of their command vessel had an immediate effect on the remaining 3 pirate boats. Without central coordination, their attack began to fall apart as individual commanders made their own tactical decisions. 2 of the vessels began to withdraw, while the third continued its attack run, apparently determined to avenge its fallen comrades. Single enemy vessel continuing to attack, Thompson reported. Range 1,200 yards and closing fast. Engage with all weapons, Martinez commanded. The final pirate vessel was destroyed in a spectacular explosion that sent debris flying hundreds of yards in all directions. As the smoke cleared, Martinez realized that the immediate threat was over, but the larger implications of what they had discovered were just beginning. Ma'am, I've traced their command signals, Rodriguez reported. The coordination center appears to be located on the Yemeni coast, approximately 180 nautical miles northeast of our position. Excellent work, Martinez replied. Compile everything you've intercepted and prepare it for transmission to Task Force headquarters. As the USS Porter appeared on the horizon, racing toward the battle area at maximum speed, Martinez began to comprehend the full scope of what they had uncovered. The pirate attacks weren't random criminal activity. They were part of a sophisticated military operation backed by professional intelligence and coordination capabilities. Ma'am, incoming message from Admiral Thompson. She wants a full after-action report as soon as possible. Martinez looked out over the debris-strewn water where the remains of multiple pirate vessels marked the site of the largest naval battle in the region in decades. Her crew had fought brilliantly against overwhelming odds, and they had gathered intelligence that would help Task Force 73 unravel the conspiracy behind the pirate attacks. But she also knew that this engagement was just the beginning. Whoever was behind the pirate operations now knew that the U.S. Navy was actively hunting them, and they would undoubtedly adapt their tactics accordingly. The next battle would be even more challenging, and the stakes would be even higher. Mr. Harrison, set course for rendezvous with the Porter, Martinez commanded. We have a lot of intelligence to share, and I suspect Admiral Thompson is going to want us back in action as soon as possible. As the Tempest began moving toward the approaching destroyer, Martinez reflected on how much had changed since that afternoon 3 weeks ago when 29 pirate boats surrounded the USS Cyclone. What had started as a desperate fight for survival had evolved into a sophisticated intelligence operation that was revealing the true scope of the threat facing international shipping in the region. Commander Sarah Martinez had proven that a determined American naval officer and her crew could face any odds and emerge victorious. But more importantly, she had demonstrated that the United States Navy would never back down from those who threatened innocent lives and international commerce, no matter how well organized or well equipped they might be. The battle was over, but the war against piracy in the Gulf of Aden was just beginning. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.